In the last episode, my truck went in the shop while I was traveling in California's Bay Area for an unknown duration. I was given a loaner vehicle, which happens to be an electric vehicle. Wait, what? I know nothing about electric cars. Challenge accepted. Join me this week as I hit the road to find out whether an electric vehicle will work for full-time or long-term, long-distance travel. Buckle up, everyone. Right, we are plugged in here at the Tesla charging station. Got an adapter here. I'll explain all of that in just a little bit. We are starting out on our first road trip in the electric car. And if you're new here, this electric car is not my car. It is a loaner vehicle because the truck that I usually drive is in the shop up in the Bay Area of California. They provided me with this loaner electric vehicle, which has added a lot of challenges. I've learned a lot in this past week that I've spent at home just regrouping and kind of paring down my gear and everything. There's a lot I've learned, and I will be sharing that throughout this video. But right now we're here at the Tesla the Tesla charging station. You can charge certain EVs at Tesla charging stations, and only certain Tesla charging stations. You have to have an adapter because it's a different type of charging system. So there's a lot I've learned. I do have that adapter. Charging the car now. We're probably going to run into McDonald's and grab either a bite to eat or some coffee while we're waiting. And yes, we'll share more along the way. It's going to be an exciting trip. We've got exciting plans. Today is day number 1. If you're wondering what happened to my truck, make sure that you check out last week's video. I'm not going to go into all the detail right now, but I did have to leave it up in the Bay Area. So yeah, check out that video. Hopefully I'll be getting it back sooner than later. But in the meantime, I'm taking this challenge head on with this electric vehicle. Had a quick bite to eat at Mickey D's, and I'm able to monitor the progress of the charging through the Tesla app, and the charging here is moving fairly slow. It's only moving about 56 to 60 kilowatts. I'm up to, let's see, about 70, almost 75%, so we might just take off, but it's going to be interesting to see how many times we need to stop during this trip. We're going to be going over some mountain passes, some big hills. I know that it sucks up more energy then, so this is going to be a very interesting experiment. We run into a situation. We are at our next charging station, and we saw that there were a couple available, but now that we've gotten here, there are none available. Not only that, there are battery operated buses, and they are taking up 2 of the spots. So we're here at a location where it's totally full. We had planned to charge up while we shop. So here we go again. One of the things I have learned about electric vehicles is that you can use vehicle charging stations that are branded for certain makes and models. Like this is a Rivian charging station, but the Rivian, something cool about Rivian is they actually have the same type of electrical connector as most standard EV cars. So this one I can just plug right into and start charging, and they do allow, there's a sign right here that says open to all electric vehicles. So this I was able to find on an app, and it showed that there were 4 out of 6 stalls available. So we came over here, it was about 5 miles away, and now we are charging the vehicle. It is an inconvenience, as you saw. Things like that have happened to me already since driving this vehicle, but we're good to go pretty soon. We just have to sit here for a little while. Getting here was not so bad because we did have some ups and downs, but there were enough that when you go up, you use more power, but then when you go down, you gain power, which is interesting. So there were enough of a combination of both, and then flat, that by the time we got here, we had 240 miles of electricity on the vehicle when we left Lone Pine. We had a 150-mile drive, and then when we left Walmart, I still had about 90 miles of power on the vehicle. So we did pretty good. A quick word about the sponsor of today's video, RV Mattress. As many of you know, my tow vehicle, my truck, is currently in the shop, so I do not have a tow vehicle to tow my trailer. But what has been a comfort during this time is that I do have my trailer at home base to come back to. But what makes it even more comforting is I have a safe and cozy place to lay my head at night on my RV Mattress by Brooklyn Bedding. RV Mattress is a Brooklyn Bedding brand known for top-of-the-line quality and comfort. Right now I'm getting some work done here on my bed because it is the most comfortable place in my trailer. I've had my RV mattress now for about 4 years, and I think that it's getting more comfortable over time. It was really important for me to have a comfortable bed when I bought this trailer, and one of the things that was very attractive to me about the RV mattress is that it comes rolled up in a box and it's easy to set up yourself. You wouldn't imagine that a mattress this thick and luxurious could be compacted into a box, but that is just what they did. RV Mattress comes in many sizes, dimensions, and firmness options. They have so many different options to choose from. I needed one that would fit into my 21-foot travel trailer, so I got the Signature Hybrid in the medium firmness and the short queen size. It fits in here like a dream, and it is like sleeping on a cloud. One of the many awesome things also about RV Mattress is they have a 120-night sleep trial, so there is no risk if you wanted to try it out. Tell you what, when I got back here to home base, my first night on this mattress, after all the stress, I slept like a rock. Nothing could have woken me up, and it's because this feels like home on this mattress. Guys, I absolutely love my RV Mattress by Brooklyn Bedding, and I think you would too. If you're looking for a new bed, you can either head on over to my link below or scan the QR code here to get 30% off your order with code Catherine. Thank you once again to RV Mattress for sponsoring this video. Now join me again back on the road. There happens to be a Jersey Mike's here in the parking lot, and I have a gift card from my mom. Thank you, Mom. So I'm gonna grab a sandwich while we're sitting here waiting, and Joey and I will split it. Something I've learned in the short time I've had this vehicle is it's best to plan an activity around charging it. So if you can grab a bite to eat or go do some shopping, it's best that you can kill two birds with one stone rather than just sitting waiting for it to charge. We're almost done here. We are about at 87%. We have 161 miles to go to our next stop, which is in Las Vegas. If I didn't mention it, we are in Barstow. Also, we had to reroute our plans, or modify our route so that we came in a direction that had the most charging stations. Originally, the shorter way to go would have been through Death Valley, but we wouldn't have made it to Las Vegas because there weren't any charging stations along the way close enough to the point that we would need one. So we're actually going about 50 miles out of the way along Interstate 15 so that we have more charging options along the way. Our range right now is 279 miles with 161 to go, so let's see how the math works out once we get there.
Come on, soft, turn the key and cooler on. This a pause for relief. Free pass, you don't even have to ask to be the cat in the sun.
Welcome to Nevada.
Someday I will see the
We are at our last stop before heading to our camp. We're not staying in Las Vegas tonight. We are staying at a campground, which I will show you when we arrive, just a little outside of town. We're charging up a little bit while we go into Walmart and grab something quick to eat tonight for dinner, and then we'll be on our way. I'm at 130 miles when I got here. So we had, what did I say it was? 100 and, I'll put the math here because I don't even remember what I said earlier. It's been a long day. We had a certain amount of miles to go, and I still have in the range of 130 miles left on the vehicle.
coffee in a paper cup. The engine starts right up. Clip myself into the middle seat. Daddy liked talk radio. On gravel he would drive real slow. He told me let's go see what we could see. We pulled into the empty lot before the pavement got too hot.
We've made it here to camp at the Echo Bay Campground here at Lake Mead Recreation Area. It's getting dark, we're losing light, but what an absolutely stunning, gorgeous, jaw-dropping drive to get here. Unbelievable. We're gonna go ahead and get camp set up, and then I'll show it to you once we have it set up. All right, we have camp set up, and as you can see, it's dark. So I don't know how much you'll see. Let me see if I can give you a glimpse of the tent. We'll be sleeping in the big tent tonight, and I'll go over kind of the setup that I have out of the EV. I've pared things down a bit and gotten a few things to kind of compact the whole situation a little more. So I'll show you all that tomorrow, but here is where we'll be sleeping tonight. Got some nice string lights to hang around the tent. I don't know if this is exactly the configuration I'll keep it at, but for now it's working. And they have a kind of a big light here, which is cool, and it's magnetic, so it can stick to the top of the car. Right now I just have it facing the picnic table. Let's take a look in the tent. Take a peek in here. Bed all set up, and I'll show you this in the daylight tomorrow. I think I'll go ahead and sign off for the evening since it's too dark to film and I'm pretty tuckered out. So we'll catch up tomorrow. A lot to talk about tomorrow. I'll see you all in the morning. Good night. Getting some coffee going. You might notice a few new items here. I'll talk to you about that in just a little bit. But what a beautiful day. A nice balmy, I don't know, it's probably already in the 50-degree area, in the 50s somewhere. Sun feels amazing, and that's why all the snowbirds love coming to Nevada. So during my week at home, I had to do a little bit of work to consolidate items. I bought a few space-saving items, and we were able to get this car packed up. It's pretty much packed to the gills. For the time being, we are sleeping out of the big tent, so I'm very thankful that I have that. But I'll show you some of the things that I did just to save some space. And one of the big things that I did was I left the air mattress behind. We are sleeping currently on our sleeping pads that we use for backpacking and using our sleeping bags. I think we brought one blanket and a couple of pillows, but when I have my normal setup with the full-size air mattress, I usually carry a lot of blankets. So just the blankets and the air mattress alone, leaving those behind, saved a lot of space. Also in the truck, I carry a step ladder to get into the roof box. I left that behind. And then I really consolidated my kitchen, and I'll show you what I did with that. If you watched my previous video, just a few videos back where I talk about my off-grid kitchen, I might insert some clips here. You can see that I had this container here plus two extra medium-sized storage tubs. One contained all of my coffee equipment, which I have a stainless steel kettle and then some plastic pour-over items, and then I also, which took up a whole bin pretty much, and then I also had a bin that had spices and kind of dry foods and things like that. What I've done is I've put all of that, I always carry this bag, so all the dry items, the spices, I put in this bag, so that got rid of that bin. And then I consolidated all the coffee items into this bin that has my pots and pans. So let me show you how that's looking right now. All right, so we've got everything compacted into this bin here. I've got two collapsible bowls, which I had regular plastic bowls. They took up a lot of space. This is now my kettle, which is a collapsible kettle. It's all about collapsible items. Here are the pour over, which you saw earlier when I made my coffee. I've got two of those. Got some filters. This is all my utensils. This is knives, forks, cutting board, everything that I need for utensil-wise, spatulas. And then I had two pans. I had this one and a pot, a sauce pot. I left the sauce pot behind because I only have a single burner stove anyways, so there's no need to have two pots. Got a couple plates here, can opener, and I did actually buy a smaller set of pans, but they were too small. I would not have been able to make much in them, so I went ahead and took a regular full-sized pan. But yeah, I mean, that was one. This is two whole bins consolidated into this one bin. Here's a better look during the daylight of what the inside of the tent's looking like. Let's take a few minutes and talk about this electric vehicle. I have had to do a crash course on electric vehicles over the past week that I've had this car. It's been 1 week, and boy, I have learned a lot. There's been a lot to take in. One of the first things I want to talk about is all the extra planning. As I mentioned earlier, we had initially planned to come through Death Valley to get to this location. That is the shortest route. That's the route I normally take. However, there were charging stations. Let me correct that. The only charging stations they had were in Beatty, Nevada, and I could have made it there. However, the one that was for the standard electric vehicles was a very slow one, and it was only one pedestal. And then the other one was a Tesla charging station, and they did not allow non-Teslas to charge there. So we would have never made it here. unless we went ahead and went out of the way 50 miles and came along major highways and interstates where there were plenty of charging options along the way. Initially, I had Googled the Beatty Tesla charging station, and it had said that I could charge there. However, I did a little bit further research and I was reading some reviews and I found out that you cannot. And the Tesla app actually showed me that I could not. So it's a good thing I figured that out before I hit the road. Something that you can do through Google Mapping is when you're planning a route, you could put in EV stations. You can click on that on your tab on your computer, and it will show you all the EV stations along the way. So you can plan accordingly and you have to figure out how many miles you can go before you have to stop. I mean, there is just so much more to think about. It's already kind of a challenge when you're planning a route, but then you have all of that on top of it. You have to think about all the different charging stations along the way and whether you're going to be able to get from one to the next. And not all charging stations are the same. Tesla has a different type of adapter for the car than normal, or I shouldn't say normal, but the majority of electric vehicles. Tesla is an NACS charger, and these vehicles are CCS chargers. So I had to buy that adapter, which brings it from an NACS to a CCS. And I think a lot of Teslas get the opposite adapter so that they can charge at non-Tesla charging stations. Also, the charging stations have different charging speeds. So some are very fast and some are very slow. And that's why I didn't want to go the Beatty route, because I heard that you had to be there for hours and hours. It only gave you about 6 kilowatts. I don't know if it's per minute or what the measurement is, but it only brought in about 6 kilowatts. So that would take a very long time to charge this vehicle. And then they go up to 350 kilowatts. I call it like hyper fast. But even though they say they go up to 350 kilowatts, they don't always bring in that much power when you're actually at the power station. I don't know what determines how fast or slow it goes, but I don't think I've seen it get up to 350 kilowatts since I have used these charging stations. Something that I have found very helpful are the apps. Tesla has an app, Rivian has an app, Electrify America, which is a big commercial electric car charging company, has an app, and all of those help you find charging stations along your route or wherever you are. The Rivian actually takes the same type of CCS connector as this car here, so those are nice for me to stop at because I don't have to worry about the adapter. So those have been really, really helpful. If you're driving an electric vehicle, I would highly recommend downloading all of the apps. I actually did get into sort of a panic situation because I live in a rural area, and a few days earlier I had charged at a charging station, and I drove back into town and I was planned on charging at that charging station, and just a few days later I got there and they had torn out the whole charging station. They were doing construction on it when I pulled up, and I didn't know where else to go. I went to another charging station, but it was part of the Best Western Hotel, and those are called destination charging stations, and it's through the hotel, so you had to have a code. I was in a panic because I probably couldn't have made it back to my home base, but I found out that the Rivian has the same connector as this car, and Rivian charging stations allow non-Rivian vehicles, and they happen to have a Rivian charging station. There was a woman in a Mercedes that was going through the same thing as me, and she was in a panic. She said her blood sugar level was low, she was super stressed out, she was having anxiety, and you know, that's the kind of situations that you run into if there aren't available charging stations and you're low on power. One thing I have learned is that the terrain highly affects the range that you can do on these electric vehicles. When I first got it, I made a stop at South Lake Tahoe on my way back to home base, and I was climbing mountains, going very steeply uphill on these mountainous curvy roads, and it really sucked the power out of this. I was actually pretty sketched out whether I was going to make it or not to the power station. The drive here though, the combination of uphills and downhills, now this car does gain more power when you're going on the downhills. I haven't really researched why that is yet, but I'm imagining it's like a turbine effect. So the combination of the uphills and downhills and the flat terrain made it so that I was able to get closer to the actual range that it stated coming here to this area. And to be fair, had I had started out with a full charge, most people who own electric vehicles have charging stations at home. If I would have set out yesterday, beginning the day with a full charge, getting to Vegas, I would have only had to stop one time. So that wouldn't have been so bad. And again, if you plan other things around your charging, like you want to go ahead and grab some lunch, you want to do a little bit of shopping, that helps. However, the time that it takes to do it is just, I don't know. It's a very big inconvenience for my lifestyle. It wound up taking us about 10 hours to do about a 4.5 hour drive yesterday. 4.5 to 5 hour drive. Wound up taking double the time with the stops that we had to make for charging. So yeah, it really is something to consider if you're considering driving an electric vehicle and being on the road a lot or full time. You're gonna have to factor in a lot of extra time for charging. With my truck, I can go to a fueling station, spend maybe 5-10 minutes, and I'm on the road again. And speaking of, my truck has a very large fuel tank, so I can go close to 600 miles without having to refuel. That's a big difference from this, which was only about 320 miles. That's what the range says, but you don't get that much. And I also am very leery of letting it get too low, so I'm stopping before it gets to 25% power to recharge. Yesterday I stopped 3 times to recharge the vehicle and I spent about $75. It still has 200 miles range on it right now, so that's not bad. I am saving a little bit of money there because to fill my truck completely full, it is anywhere from $100 to $140, depending on what state I'm in and how empty it is. But I feel like that has brought me a little bit of savings in terms of charging electric rather than diesel, rather than fueling up with diesel. Would I recommend an EV for this type of lifestyle? Either living nomadically, living full-time in a vehicle, or traveling a lot? I would not. Yeah, you're gonna have to really modify where you go. You're not gonna be able to get into the very remote areas that I'm able to get into with my truck. It really will affect your lifestyle. It is an interesting experiment for me right now, but long-term, I wouldn't do it. I think electric vehicles are ideal for people who live in cities. They have a charger at home, they're driving short distances. It would be a big savings in fuel and gas to have an electric vehicle in those instances. But for this kind of a lifestyle, long road trips, long days on the road, no. So what is happening with my truck? I'll give you a little bit of an update on that. It is still up in the Bay Area of California. Still no part. The part has not come in. If you missed the last video, again, I would recommend going back and watching that. We are waiting on an NOx2 sensor that is on back order, and it has still not come in. They have assured me that they have opened up a SPAC case, which you can look that up, and they have elevated the status of getting the part to the highest levels. So I'm just hoping that it comes in soon. They also called me once I was packed up and on the road first day and told me that I can trade this in for a gas vehicle. They do have a couple of gas trucks that are available for me to choose from. So I can go back out there, but that requires me going all the way back up to the Bay Area to get it. And I already had camping secured for this trip. I had already made a plan. So I'm gonna see this through this current excursion through, which would be a couple of weeks before heading back up there. And I'm hoping that before I have to exchange this for a gas loaner vehicle, that my part will come in. We're not going to make every vehicle about this car. I have adventures planned that I'm very excited to get on. I will probably give you an overview of my entire experience once I turn it back in. And if anything exciting comes up, I'll share that with you. But that's probably going to be about the last we talk about the EV. So I'm super excited to continue with this expedition. Super excited about what's ahead. Can any of you guess where I'm headed? Take into consideration I'm driving the EV when you make your guess, but I'd love to hear in the comments below if you can guess where I'm headed. My camera overheated and shut down, so I had to let it cool off a little bit. But what I was saying is this is just a quick pit stop along the way. I hope that you found this video interesting. A lot of you said that you were interested to see how things were going with the electric vehicle, and I think this gives you a good idea. I think it's just going to be more of the same as we travel along, and then in a couple of weeks I'll either exchange it out for a gas vehicle or get my truck back, hopefully. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all coming along. Stay tuned for the exciting adventures to come up. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next adventure down the road. See you soon, everybody. Bye-bye. At Tesla charging stations and certain Tesla start